So we're up here in northern Wisconsin chasing muskies on the fly. When most people think fly fishing, they think trout fishing, little flies like this. Or maybe bass fishing, little flies like this. But up here, we're throwing some rather substantial stuff. But even though this is a big fly, it's not hard to cast. You know, we've got Pete up here. He hasn't done a whole lot of fly fishing, but Pete's casting better than a lot of guys I know that have been fly fishing for quite a while, probably because he hasn't done a whole lot of it. He's taken instruction and he's doing what you need to do. It's not that difficult if you have the right gear. So a big fly like this is actually really easy to throw with a line that has a sink tip. If you have a very aggressive taper, very heavy front to your fly line, you can actually throw a fly like this very easily. You can fish it all day long. It's just a matter of having the right gear. The guys you're going to fish with here have all the right lines. You don't have to worry about filling a truck with that kind of stuff. But if you have the right lines, you can throw a fly like this. You can throw a fly like this or a little trout fly. Easy to do, and when you see a muskie coming up behind this and opening his mouth, it's pretty cool when he goes crazy.
Well, it's interesting because I kind of felt like I should go back to the fly, but this section of river that we're floating today is actually quite big. There's a lot of space here. I feel a little incompetent behind Mr. Pierce because he casts so well, and I get a little better, but I'm really not that good. I think he liked the tube, but we're getting into deeper areas, nothing on the bucktail at all, and I'm like, well, I got to go back to the tube. The revelation hits me. They were active on the tube, and I only throw it maybe 10 times, and all of a sudden I get this crunching strike about 15 feet from the boat. The tube is dead. It's gone. He destroyed it. And then there's the immediate panic because this white tube should, of course, be here in its mouth somewhere, and it's not anywhere near the mouth. It's slid up the line, and then next thing you know, it's literally gone, so I think the fish got away, but it didn't get away. I still have it. All that's left is a weight and a wire, and dude, that's one of the best jumps I've seen in a while. That's actually a nice one, man. I'll tell you what, I haven't seen one go that high in quite some time. Now I guess I get it back in here. She's gonna wanna go. Ooh, go! She go! She gone! She out of here!
Our leader setup for fly fishing muskies is pretty simple. We're gonna use what's called the level leader. It's about 30 inches of 40-pound monofilament or fluorocarbon, nail knotted to your fly line, down to a perfection loop. Then your next set of your leader is your fly with 10 to 12 inches of 40-pound wire, and you're gonna put your main line loop through your leader loop, bring your fly through the main line. Then you've got a nice clean connection there where there's no hinge points, no possibility of breaking. And the reason why we do this is so we have 3 or 4 flies on standby and we can switch those flies out a lot faster. We have an active fish or we move a fish, we want to try a different color. This is really fast and easy to switch. Down to our fly, we've got another perfection loop. And what that's going to do is just give that fly free range of motion in the current, let it turn, let it act natural. Your leader, you don't want it to be too long because we still have to figure 8. This is still musky fishing even though it's with a fly rod. If you've got a big long leader, you don't want to be stripping these knots into your rod. You get a fish on at the boat, it could get hung up, and then you've got a fish that's probably gonna break your rod. So nice short leader so you're able to execute clean figure 8s. If you musky fish, you know it's a lot of work. It takes sometimes all day to get bit, so you get one bite, you don't wanna get bit off.
Hot topics, leading information, and tackle and techniques to make you a better angler. Presented by Mercury.
You know, slow death is a technique that has truly changed the world of walleyes in terms of just going out to catch fish and even tournament fishing over the last few years. And it's really that pretty simple setup, in being that it's just a bent Aberdeen hook, and a lot of times we're pulling it behind a bottom bouncer. And what we've found over the last few years is that it truly works anywhere. And when I mean anywhere, we've taken it out west where it really was originated and done well in Lake Oahe. We fish river systems with slow death and have caught tons and tons of walleyes on this technique. But what we've really looked at over the past few years is being able to expand this slow death technique into other worlds for walleyes. And when I mean other worlds, I'm talking about open water fishing, maybe on Lake Erie or Green Bay, and also using artificial tails, because so many techniques now, artificials work so well that it's really nice to not have to rebait your hook all the time. And the thing that we've found is this 4-inch gulp crawlers work really well. There's also that killer crawler from Berkeley Gulp that's worked well. But sometimes with these artificial tails, it can be a little bit tough to get these things to spin correctly to get the bites that you want. And this is where this hook kind of originated. This is the original Slow Death hook here, and this is the new hook from Mustad. It's going to be called the Super Death hook. And the first thing you'll see is the bend in this Super Death hook is way more severe. And the one thing that does is it allows these artificial tails to spin very easily. It's as simple as stringing up that crawler, or that artificial, this is that 4-inch gulp crawler like I was showing you. And the thing that you'll see with the severe bend, you just want to make sure that you're going right through the middle of that crawler. You string it right up, go right up over the eye of that Slow Death hook. But what we want to see with these artificial tails is we want to see that tail actually going on the bend of that hook, almost so it's like in an L-shaped form, and that will really get this tail here whipping in that spiral fashion that entices walleyes like crazy. We've seen over this past year in testing this hook that open water fish love this hook, and the reason being is that you can use a full night crawler. And when we're talking about open water walleyes, typically we're looking at pulling open water spinners or big crankbaits, because these fish are typically big and they're coming from a further distance away. So you need to have a presentation that has good size to it for these fish to see. By putting more bend to this hook, keeping all the strength that we had before, you're able to get that full crawler to spin. We're looking at taking the Slow Death presentation with this Super Death hook to a lot of different locations where maybe Slow Death hasn't worked so well in the past, and able to use these artificial tails now, full night crawlers, fish open water fish, and catch a ton of walleyes no matter where you are.